Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Anderson, True Crypto 28 from Twitter. Hope everyone's doing well. So, this video is a little different. I don't have a technical analysis trick for you. I'm not teaching anything too specific. I really just wanted to get a message across and speak to very specifically non profitable traders and those that have a desire to learn trading via technical analysis. Obviously, there's been a huge sell-off in this particular space that the majority of us follow, even a sell-off, obviously, in the stock market as well. So a lot of people have been caught off guard by these things, and there's a lot of pain out there. So because of that, I figured, I want to go ahead and push something like this out. I was going to do something like this probably in January. I figured, let's get past the holidays. But because I see the need, I thought, let me go ahead and give like a formal announcement of something. First and foremost, what I'm going to explain to everyone, let me just bring up this other graphic here. Me personally, I believe that everybody should have a trading coach or a mentor if they're trying to learn trading. Remember, if you're profitable, this video is not for you in the first place. But if you're not a profitable trader, if you don't have the capability of sitting down week in, week out, even day in, day out, and trading profitably, well then there is another way. I assure you. That just means, and not to put it in the wrong light, but it just means that you're not doing it right. There's something missing. If you're not stringing it together, there's some element of comprehension as it relates to trading that you're simply not getting, right? And why do I say that? Just basically, I can tell you that the number one reason, in my opinion, for people to get a trading coach or a mentor is that you will save time and you will save money. And yes, I did say save money, right? So in the short run, you say, yeah, it costs money. And it does, absolutely. But that kind of thinking is backwards. And it's not you if you're the one thinking that. Everyone thinks that, especially if they've lost money in the market. I've seen that for 20 years. I've been trading for 20 years, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But it's a very unusual mindset. You see, what happens is, in any other aspect of life, if we have a job, if we're going to college, if we have a hobby, and I'll give you some examples, we are more than willing to put out money. But for some reason, when it comes to trading, especially people that lost money in trading, they see it as an expense that's coming directly out of their trading account, and they have no interest in it, or they see it as further losses, right? If you were at 100,000 and now you're at 10, do you want to put out some money to pay some guy to teach you? No. But why? The reality is it's already cost you 90,000 doing it on your own. People don't see it that way. They don't understand that, hey, if I knew that very simple technical analysis would have got me out of this market at 18,000 as an example, and maybe got me back in temporarily at, low 6 range, and then back out again in the 7,700 range in the worst case scenario, while I then started to trade ranges, well then great, right? Life would have been a little bit differently, but that's not how it worked out. Unfortunately, you only knew, or some people only knew, bullish moves, and they're trying to look for bullish moves during these gigantic sweeping downward movements, and that's not trading. So in the short run, yes, it costs you money to learn to trade, because whoever that person is going to put some time and effort into it, obviously. But in the long run, you're likely to see a dramatic savings versus what self-learning is. You're also going to save a lot of time as well. And just kind of getting back to my point there, in other aspects, if it's a hobby, I give people the golf example, right? People like to golf. And in golfing, you're more than happy to pay an instructor several $100s per session, or for a grouping of sessions, to learn how to play the game, or put $1,000 into golf clubs, and you don't look at that expense as coming out of anything specific other than the fact that you enjoy your hobby. But again, for some reason, in trading, people look at that differently, and you have to really think about that. In trading, you're actually going to be trading your own money. In some situations, people's life savings. So if anything, it should work the other way around. You should look to invest in that particular skill set if you're going to choose to do it yourself. If not, then what I would suggest is get like a money manager, right? Get someone to manage your money. Not me. I'm not doing that. I do it, but I'm not doing that for anyone on Twitter. So ultimately, what I would state is that you're going to be in a situation to where you need to make some choices. Hey, should I invest into truly learning this and coming up with a skill set that I can utilize the rest of my life? Whether you decide to become a full-time trader or not, that's completely up to you. But still, I would highly recommend that, because when you're talking about something like your finances, the control element that you'll have, the feeling of control and knowledge of how to make money via trading or investing, is something that holds a lot of power, right? Because you'll feel a little bit different. You feel like you're in a lot more control of the circumstances and the situations of how your basically money is growing or not growing, depending on your strategy. So ultimately, that's something to consider very strongly. Now, I'll move past that for a moment. Now, in the long run, as I mentioned, you're likely to see dramatic savings for self-learning. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, obviously, if you learn to trade and you're making money, well, then of course you're going to make back whatever you pay out in spades. But at the same time, as I mentioned, I'm speaking to a lot of people recently. They're going from, I have a guy who's an extreme amount. I won't even mention that one. But, I have some people that say, hey, I was at $1 million. I'm at 100,000 now, or even less, and I'm at 50 and now I'm at 5, or maybe it's not as extreme. Maybe you're only down 30-40%. Whatever it might be, ultimately that was, again, a cost that you did not have to take on, because I'll just show you, just utilizing this particular graphic, right? If for the majority of this move you were looking for shorts, then of course you did not lose money. Now, there are times when you get into an area like this where there was some indecision. This was a double top scenario. Now, you might have seen it, but there was a little bit of a head fake there. We technically had a close that was above this one. It looked like a higher high, and then a dump, right? So this caught a lot of people off guard. That's understandable. If you get choppy situations or head fakes, then it's understandable to have some losing trades in that type of situation. But the remainder of the time, when you had huge trending markets, right, then these are areas where certainly there was a huge ability to make money. And then when you're able to recognize that you're in a choppy market in these type of scenarios, at the same time having the skill set to trade ranges also would be very profitable. Unfortunately, it's that people only know one thing, and they sort of can't put it together, and that's kind of the problem they end up having. So now, going back to this article, this note that I put in here, it says it doesn't have to be me. It doesn't. Right now, of course, I'm going to explain to you what I do, and I'm going to let you know that I do offer my services, and you're welcome to talk to me further about that, but it doesn't have to be me. I'll use myself as an example. I have 20 years of experience in trading, and it took me 20 years, obviously, to learn what I do know, and therefore, any experienced mentor should significantly cut down your time and your learning curve. So that's valuable, but at the same time, does not have to be solely me. Maybe there's other people you like. Maybe there's other people in this particular space. You want to get someone that has experience, obviously. If the guy just learned to trade himself, then there are probably elements that he's missing. Ideally, I would say you want to get someone that's been through it, right? Someone that's been through some bear markets, etc. But look, there's a couple savants out there, I'm sure, so that's not to put anyone down. I try to be, in my situation, the anti-group. I don't have any interest in being a group. I don't want to be a call group. I don't offer that kind of service because I don't believe in that kind of service. And that's not to down any of the groups that are out there. Unfortunately, yes, groups have a very bad name in the crypto space, and for good reason. That doesn't mean all groups are bad. In fact, I have many friends that run groups. You probably know who they are, and I would highly recommend them, and I still recommend them today. So by all means, I have people that are in my mentorship program, and they are in groups as well, and I more the merrier. Feel free to learn from as many people as you like, and of course what they tell me is that it's a very different experience, because I will tell you that my sole goal is really to teach people to trade. I'm not looking to give you signals left and right, because I don't believe in that. As I said right here, you see it says learn to fish for yourself. Look, giving you trades, I will do that at times when there's we see something that's crystal clear, long-term movements. I'm happy to assist. We can be in a working group, so to speak. From that aspect, I don't mind that, but I don't want to make it some sort of call group or anything along those lines, because what happens is you rely on that. You don't even know what my trade is, by the way, because I could give you a call signal, but the reality is I might shed the position 10 times and then say to everyone else, hey, you know what, you guys should exit because the setup isn't what I thought. It might be highly profitable for me because of the shedding techniques that I use, but for you, you might have taken a small loss or got out with a small gain. So those are things you have to consider. I much rather teach you a full-fledged trading system and then begin to teach you how to trade, because I believe that you're then going to be able to, as I mentioned, learn to fish, right? Learn to trade for yourself for life, and that's much more valuable, right? You'll see that over time, that there's much more value in that. So anyway, I said focus on what matters and receive far less filler. What's that mean? Well, if you read a book and you pick up a few things, great, that's beneficial. But you just had to read a whole book for that, right? So if you're a voracious reader and you can do that, that's great. Ultimately, just to give you my story, 20 years ago, I basically decided to get into trading because I had a friend that was making a lot of money. So right out of college, I got a job. I should have borrowed some money, but I didn't. I got a job. I worked hard. I tried to save some money. It took some time. I saved up $2,000, right? Maybe I had a little bit more, but I took $2,000 out of that amount. I put it into, I believe it was Ameritrade. Day one, I bought a biotech company. So I buy a biotech. One day, nothing happens. 2 days, nothing happens. I wake up the third day, it doubled. So my 2,000 became 4,000. Did not sell. Next day, it doubled again. I did sell it. Then my 2,000 became 8,000. Short version of the story is I was hooked. I was in. Within 3 months, I had went from 2,000 to over $250,000. I thought I was a genius. I bought nothing. I didn't spend one dime of that money. The only thing I did was transfer it to a professional trading account. I was literally shopping though. I was shopping for yachts. This is a true story. If you think about it, it's very sad. But the idea is I can really relate to people that were in crypto, especially people that have been in crypto for a while, because I can understand the mindset that you go through, because ultimately I thought I was king of the world, right? I figured, you know what, I am the greatest trader that's ever lived. And, I picked up a couple skill sets in terms of trading techniques, and they were all working left and right. I could do no wrong. I was being overly aggressive, too big of position sizes, no risk management at all. And it was working. It worked like a charm. And I thought, all right, well, if I went from 2,000 to over 250 in 3 months, obviously it's just in another 3 months, who knows where I'm going to be. I'm going to be at, 20, 30, $40 million. That's why I was shopping for yachts. But the idea is what then happened, instead of me growing from there, is the market collapsed, right? The parabolic advance stopped and the internet bubble collapsed, and it basically was a very painful experience because it was sector by sector. It's very different when crypto, when Bitcoin's hurting, for the most part, alts get crushed. Bitcoin's been getting crushed, and it's been pretty fluid. I mean, there's been a lot of ways to make money on the downside, and you can make money on the downside in the stock market as well, but it's a little bit different because the sectors are falling one by one. At least that's how it occurred back then. There was a lot of head fakes, and I bled just about every penny back, and it was painful. But it was at that point that I really said, you know what, I didn't quit. I'm going to crack down. I'm going to learn to trade. And I did so. And in doing so, I still struggled. And what's interesting, I told this story before. I think I told it on Twitter, where we'll just go over here. I had this, I put this up before, where I said, you know what, one day I came across this guy, and he basically didn't know anything about trading. So here I am, I'm working for a firm, but still I was struggling in my own trading because we were in an unwinding bear market. So I was learning, I was getting some things right, but I was still struggling to just put it together. And I spoke to a guy, and this is not the strategy that I'm teaching at all. As I mentioned, it's a very simple strategy. But the key is, the reason I bring this up is that this opened my eyes to let me see things a little bit differently. Because all it was this guy who said, hey, you know what, I'm killing it in the market, knowing nothing, just had a random conversation, could tell he knew nothing about technical analysis. But someone told him that he could trade utilizing a 10-day moving average and a 20-day moving average, and utilizing the cross. Because we were in a bear market, that 10-20 was working perfectly for him, and basically anything that was doing a 10-20 negative cross, he was short, and the guy was just killing it. So it opened my eyes because it allowed me to start looking at the market differently. Up until that point, I still only had a bullish mentality. And, for the most part, we do want to have that, right? Because markets ultimately want to be bullish, and there's a lot more money to be made on the bull side, because when things go bullish, you can make multiples of money as opposed to being limited between 0 and 99% on the short. But the point is that by understanding both sides of that market, it helped me. Now, this may not be what opens your eyes, but what I would suggest is that there's something, right? There is going to be something, if not 5 or 6 different things that you'll learn from a mentor, from a trading coach, that's going to begin to open your eyes, that you basically put you in these positions where you have these aha moments, right? Where you say, aha, I've never seen it that way. I never thought of it. I wasn't even understanding the element of simple market structure, right? Maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe you're not comprehending the basic price action of candlesticks. Things of that nature. There's something missing, and maybe there's several things missing. So what happens is we get a lot of this information, but we can't comprehend it. We cannot put it together. And that's why you want an experienced teacher that can take you through and say, look, you could trade successfully this way, and I'll explain that in a minute, but then we'll also teach you how to trade. So that's my story. Basically, I know what a lot of people went through. I've suffered through it. It was painful, and as I mentioned, I began to learn the trade, and then very quickly thereafter, I started to have a lot of success, and was able to run a trading firm, and then become independent trader from that point forward, which was the ultimate goal. And it was painful, and it was hard, it was difficult, and I look at everything that I lost as tuition. It cost me that much money. So that's why I tell people, again, just get back to this point, that yeah, short run paying someone might seem like it costs money. It might seem like it's coming out of your losses, maybe seem like further losses as well, but you are likely to see a dramatic savings versus self-learning, and all you have to do is speak to people that have self-taught themselves to tell you. They usually go bust a few times over. So anyway, I'll move on a little bit. Now, whoever you choose, obviously I'm going to tell you about myself and why I might be a good selection for you, but whoever it is, just make sure, again, that one, they've been guiding people the right way for the most part. Technical analysis isn't about being right or wrong, right? It really isn't. So, I'll explain that, hey, you know what, I've been on it. Obviously, most people know that if they follow me, that I've been the whole way through saying, hey, I'm 70% bearish and 30% bullish. And in my opinion, that's how any technical analyst should look at things, because the reality is any pattern has a percentage on it. So even this particular pattern here, which looked extremely bearish, it was 70-30. That's just how it goes. There was always that chance. And basically, in technical analysis, you want to have a plan for all options. Option one, hey, if we make a higher high, what am I going to do? Option B, if we make that lower low, what am I going to do? And what ends up happening, what ends up happening is people see in a situation like this that when you did break down, what was going to occur. Did you stop like a deer in headlights and go, oh my goodness, what's happening, and just watch it bleed out? Or did you already have a plan in place? And that's the idea that you want to look into, not only from yourself eventually, and of course ultimately you want to be able to do it yourself, but if you're going to choose a mentor or coach, just make sure that that's the case. My example, I've been saying this obviously for months. I was comparing the bear market before, comparing the descending triangles of before, and basically explaining that, look, at some point, perhaps after a failed rally attempt, the powers that be will go stop loss hunting. They will have no target. They have one mission: shake out all weak hands until they create a volume event. And as you can see, we had a failed rally. I explained here in Slope Matters, basically, without getting too detailed here, pointing out some fractals, explaining that if these fractals were, we had hopes of higher lows, if they didn't make it back to the sloping point of the previous rally, in the previous higher low, then you're going to have a situation where you see a dump. And that's what occurred there, and there, and there. And then I gave this example here. It says if the bulls don't make it here, you know what comes next, which obviously is going to be that dump. We did in fact dump, and then it happened yet again, where we faded off. We never made it back to this line, and then of course the more recent dump that we just had. Explain that again on another level, going in here. Fibonacci, I did another video on horizontal support, explaining what happens if that fails. And then here again, ultimately Fibonacci weekly support, 89-week moving average, 21-month moving average. If we lose that, what happens? Secondary bear market, which is what we're in right now, ultimately, until we recover that support. And even last week, or excuse me, not last week, earlier in the month, November 7th, is anybody else a little weirded out by the fact that Bitcoin USD shorts were at a daily RSI of 23? This is an all-time low on the relative strength, and of course, RSI oversold doesn't mean much until it starts moving the other direction, but once it does, what's going to happen? Of course, the shorts rise, and that's what happened, and of course that helped to fuel this particular dump and gave you some insight to that. So, furthermore, here's a video. You guys can watch this for yourself, just kind of getting into the fact that if this particular 89-week moving average had been lost, what's going to happen? Basically stated emphatically that not only would we test the next Fibonacci EMA, but we would test 3600. I can play that. I don't know how well it's going to play out over this video, but I'll try to play it for you.
You have to, otherwise, in my opinion, we're looking at a secondary bear market. It's going to be a long process, but we also have to accept the reality that now some of these low numbers come into play, because let's assume that not only do you not spring back above the 89, but you end up in a situation where you start to test this 144. Look, we already know from history what that means. That means this one becomes your destiny. 233. Now it's rising, but you're talking about somewhere in that $3,600 range at the moment. And that becomes realistic. I mean, you're talking about something that now, we're not talking about pie in the sky where guys are just throwing off numbers and everyone loves to say 3K, 1K, and all these numbers even though they know really just about nothing about technical analysis. This is real technical analysis. This is real deal stuff that we know this will occur. This is not going to close on a weekly basis under the 89-week moving average, float here, and bounce back. It's not going to happen. Now, if it happens...
All right, so not sure how well you guys heard that. I didn't hear it very well on my side, but perhaps you did get it. If not, pretty simple, was pretty emphatic and explained that, look, we're going to see probably more than likely a 2,500 point drop, 40% loss, right? Again, is this to toot my own horn? No, it's just basically to show that, look, as a technical analyst, you want to have the capability of drawing out a game plan, right? And that game plan is going to allow you to see both sides of the story without even predicting it, because in fairness, what I said is if we lose that 89-week average. So it wasn't emphatic like, hey, 100% this is going to happen. It was if we break down past that 89-week, which is what happened right there at that level, then yes, I was going to be emphatic in my statement in saying that I strongly believe that 3,600 was going to be tested. So the idea, though, is it doesn't matter that I can do this, right? What matters is that can you do it? And you will need to learn how to do that. So that's why, again, I always go back to the same element, which is, hey, let's teach people how to do it for themselves. And ultimately, what I do, and I'll show you a little bit about it, I'll give you some examples here. Basically, this is something else. I use a couple indicators, right? So I actually provide you with all my indicators. This one's called the Golden Child. This is the one you're looking at right now. And I'll explain it. The Golden Child is a buy and short signal algorithm designed as part of a trading system. So the idea is this. I'm going to provide you with my indicators, right? And you are able to utilize them as a guide. And ultimately, with that, I'm going to teach you a detailed trading system. A system that's designed to be protective first, so that you're not risking significant amounts of cash or capital, while also looking to take advantage of moves. And I bring up this particular example, one, because it's recent, but also because I want to show you that, look, we got this short signal right there. You can see this. And I bring this up because you might look at this in a bird's eye view and say, well, wait a second. You got a short signal, and really it just faded, coasted sideways, if not up, which is true. But the system itself is a little bit more than just that signal, and I'm going to show you the actual call. So here you had a short signal on the daily scale, but the system actually gave you the short right here at this line, which is about 6,400, and then a cover, meaning the exit, right there about 6,250, right? So not a huge move, but a win. Then nothing through this, a re-entry right in this area, 6,500-ish, and then an exit again, 6,340, let's call it. Again, not a huge move, but a nice winner. And then again, got you re-short here. Now it did give you a secondary short signal, which is good, but it actually fired off on this one. I didn't have to mark it because it did fire off right there. And you can see the line. Now this one was a big one, right? Draw down all the way to there. But it protects you. Instead of, saying, hey, look, maybe this thing's going to bounce back and reject immediately, which could have happened, right? It protects you, gets you out, and then waits for the next sign, gets you back in, all the way down. This was a massive move. You're talking about 5,600 down to 4,300. 4,500 down to 4,000. 4,300 down to 3,400 and change. And then again, 3,900 down to 3,500, right? So, and I might be a little bit off on some of those numbers, but you get the idea and the concept is that basically it's a system that's designed to allow you to take in some small wins in these situations without risking significant losses, or, by the way, small losses, which by all means that's going to happen, right? But taking small losses is a benefit. I'll teach that, right? You take small losses, that's because you're in control of your money. Right? We're here to make money. That's what trading's about. It's about making money. It's not about marrying Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not trying to marry Bitcoin. I'm trying to make money off Bitcoin. So what I look to do is I look to capitalize off opportunity. So in this case, I make money. If I happen to lose a little money, that's fine too, because I was looking for this move. And when that move comes, my system will allow for that. So what I'll do is I'll teach, along with my indicator, I'm going to teach you a trading system that's going to allow you to trade effectively. And once you learn that, now we go in deeper and start to break it down so that you can learn without this indicator how to find these trades for yourself and still utilize the system itself to protect you from those losses and capitalize on the big moves down or up. So that's the idea and the concept behind that. I have other ones. This one's Golden Child. I have one that's called Swing Scalper for lower time frames. I have one that's called God's Eye, which is excellent on higher time frames. Just a very brief explanation. God's Eye is a very complicated algorithm that is designed specifically to measure the momentum of one candle. If that is gibberish to you, then don't worry about it for now, but it is a powerful tool because it can help, along with the trading system as well, to identify tops, trend changes, bottoms, things of that nature. And speaking of trend changes, I also have one that I am working on. It's not that. I have, what do I have? Let's see. Do I even have it out here? Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. So this is called Neo. Neo's a counter trend indicator, right? Now this one, what's unique about it is that you do need to learn how to utilize it. I have not even given this to my people yet, so everyone will get it, but I've been forward testing it, and I didn't want to just throw it out there, especially with the fact that we were about to have a gigantic reversal in the market or a breakdown in the market, so I didn't want to have a situation where people were utilizing a tool they didn't fully understand. But this is a counter trend indicator. Counter trend indicators can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, but they can also be highly successful. The beauty about this is it's very accurate. I mean, the percentage in terms of the accuracy is much higher than you're going to see in other indicators, but at the same time, it doesn't. You can utilize it along with the system as well, of course, but you can also use it without the system, which is nice. Some people like the fact that they can utilize that to basically see a signal, take the signal, which is a nice aspect. But ultimately, you can kind of get in general concept. I mean, this was Bitcoin Cash before the big move. Boom, caught that whole entire thing right at the top, caught the entire thing, counter trend back the other way, etc. So this one is excellent as well. So it's something that all my members will get. But at the same time, I do tell people, please do not. I have no interest in bringing you on solely for the indicators. So if that's your goal, I would say, hey, go somewhere else. There's other people that probably make some good indicators. I don't have any interest in that right now. Now, hey, keep an eye out. Maybe I will one day. I just have too much on my plate to just worry about doing it as a standalone. My goal is to utilize this as part of a process to teach people how to trade and to use the tools effectively. And that's it for now. So ultimately, I would say that, in my opinion, that should be your goal as well. Things like automated trading are nice. You can run something with a little bit, you throw a little bit of money on the side, you throw a bot in there, and hey, it's fun. They can make a little bit of cash. But for the most part, unless you're really getting involved in an expensive product, the majority of them don't perform all that well over time. They're profitable, but not, how much are you going to trust a bot to trade with, in all honesty? But that's a whole nother conversation. My point in bringing this up is that, look, it's your money. Learn to invest it yourself. Okay? That's my particular advice to everyone who's willing to listen. Okay? Anyway, so that's that. That's my way of going about it. That's how I feel comfortable. That's why I think people should get this type of assistance. I will tell you that my first Forex course in 2002 was $10,000. I learned very little, but I did learn some things. And as ridiculous as that cost was, and it was ridiculous, that's absurd even today. But when I look back on it, it was worth it because, truth be told, those couple strategies that I used, that introduced me to a couple other things, which I won't get into right now. But I made that money back in multiples because of it over time. So that's the thing. No matter what you do, as long as you find someone that's good, what you're going to find is you're going to make that money back in multiples over time, and you'll look back at it in a positive light. So that's the way I look at it. I basically took enough of your time right now. So I can tell you, look, you can learn to self-trade. You can learn to trade yourself. You can teach yourself that. That's not something that I want to basically tell anyone not to do. It's just that it's going to be a more difficult process. Now, maybe you don't have the funds to get a mentor or to get the assistance in the way of a trading coach. And if that's the case, you can still contact me. My DMs are always open. I'll try to help people. I can point you in the right direction of some positive free material, perhaps, that can get you going the right path. And that's really the key is, look, when you do take things in, take them in and try to comprehend them, but don't make them everything. Ultimately, what I will tell everyone is that you want to become a specialist in trading. You want to learn a system. You want to be able to trade successfully. But then as you see it as a passion, you're going to learn some different elements of trading, not only from me, but from anyone else. And you should find a specialty, right? Because a specialist in any particular industry are the people that make the money. So if you become a specialist in moving averages, Elliott wave, range trading, price action, whatever it might be. If you have a very specific specialty that you have where you know what, if when this setup occurs, I make this trade and I do it very well, great, you're going to make a lot of money. If your specialty is, low time frame Elliott wave, scalping, great, you're going to make a lot of money. If your specialty is, using guppy moving averages, great, you'll make a lot of money. Specialize in something, but you do have to have full comprehension of how the market works. And the reality is it's very hard to achieve that on your own because something new will come up and you're not going to realize that you don't know it until something goes wrong. And then you realize, well, wait a second, I have to learn that part of my game because I didn't know it prior. So anyway, that's that for now. Again, I never intended for this particular video to go too long. That's my advice. Contact me on Twitter, TrueCrypto28 directly. I'd rather have a little bit more personal conversation with you guys just to see if it's something that makes sense for you anyway. So introduce yourself, tell me what your goals are, etc. And we'll talk a little bit and see if you might have an interest in my particular program. And if not, look, let's make a good, healthy, happy community. Continue to speak. It doesn't have to be me, as I mentioned. I'm happy to recommend others as well. I'm not that type of guy. I don't understand a lot of the issues that go on in this community. I think everyone should be on the same page so that we can run into each other, see each other at conferences. Hey, you're that guy, I'm this guy. Great, nice to meet you. Perfect. Remember when Bitcoin was $3,000? Yeah, that was funny. And have a happy, enjoyable life and enjoy this particular space, which is young, new, vibrant. Let's make it positive, okay? Anyway, TrueCrypto28 signing out for now. We'll talk soon.